we hated one another.
We did. And to go from where we went from, dating, we were totally in love, and we loved being together, and we loved doing things together, and we enjoyed starting the business, all those things. And then to get to a point where we couldn't stand the sight of each other, that's where we were.
Right.
And so we ended up being separated for quite some time.
Welcome to the Couplepreneur Life podcast. In fact, this is the inaugural episode. All right, the numero uno, number 10 episode of the Couplepreneur Life.
Yes, so welcome everyone. And the Couplepreneur Life podcast is going to be for couplepreneurs. And what's a couplepreneur? A couplepreneur is a husband and wife that own and operate or run a business together, right?
So if that's you, you're in the right spot.
You're in the right spot.
All right.
And we know, because we've been couplepreneurs, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit, but couplepreneurs, it is a really unique situation and relationship, right? So you're running a business together, you're married, more than likely you've got kids and family, all the things.
Right, you throw all that in together and it gets kind of messy. To say it's unique is a true statement.
Yes.
It's a very unique relationship. In fact, if you look at it all, in fact, if you're thinking this couplepreneur thing happens to be pretty hard, okay? Not saying true. that's you, but for us, at times it was.
Maybe it was just us.
Okay, maybe it was just us. Well, this is just for us then. But, it really is a unique relationship. And if you look at it, consider, everything as a whole here. If you look at it, just look at the marriage side of things. Okay, the stats tell us that 50% of all marriages fail.
That's true. That's a sad stat.
That is a sad stat. And so that's, just you're looking at that. So half the marriages fail because of, these frustrations and all those, these kinds of things,
marriage.
Right, marriage, right?
General,
Life, right. Then you look at another very sad stat. In fact, this is a scary stat, that 95% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years.
Because it's hard.
It's hard, right?
It's hard.
Okay, so you're looking at those stats right there. All right, and then you throw in this stat. It's said that less than 4% of the world's population, okay, just 4%, less than 4% of human beings have that entrepreneurial, bent about them. Okay,
it is a unique brand.
All right,
Unique, what is that word? What's the word?
Well, it's a unique relationship or personality. You throw all these things in together, right? That means 96% of the world, okay? So of your circle, 96% of your circle out there, all right? And it probably feels more like 100%, that doesn't get you.
Right.
Okay? So here you're amidst all this struggle, with your marriage, okay, in business. All right.
Especially if you're starting one literally from scratch, right?
Okay.
Because that is hard enough. So
you throw all that together, and then you throw, kids, okay, family and friends, and this little thing called life. You mix all that together.
Well, this is happy.
Right.
No
wonder it's hard.
Happy.
All right, so you might as well just give up. No, because it is hard, but it is well worth it, and it's a wonderful thing when you get it, get everything all cooking together.
Absolutely, and we can speak from experience on that, and that's what this episode, this first episode is going to be about. Is Richard and I, we're Richard and Laura Behney. And we're just going to kind of tell you our story and why we started this podcast, give you a little bit of backstory of why we are couplepreneur experts, because we've been doing this for a long time. We've been married almost 30 years, been together for 30 years, so married almost 30 years. We have 3 children, all grown, and we've started a few businesses together, sold a business a few years ago, and we are empty nesters, which is the best thing ever.
It is beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And we'll have maybe not lots of episodes, but we're certainly going to have episodes that talk about being empty nesters. Even if you are maybe just brand new babies, or you've got kids in elementary and you're like, oh my gosh, empty nesting is 100 years away. No, it isn't. No. It's right around the corner, and you want to plan now for that. But that's another podcast, right?
And that's what's sad. We see this with couples, even couples that work together. All this time, this energy spent building a business, and then you run the kids around all that, and then the kids are out, and you've achieved success financially with the business, but you don't know one another.
Right, and that is sad. So
that is very sad.
That is one thing the Couplepreneur Life podcast is going to be all about.
Right.
The other thing about us, we lived in Indiana almost our whole lives. Had our businesses in Indiana, and just a few years ago moved to sunny Florida. We were tired of the snow. We were tired of the gray winters, all of that. So we do live in sunny Florida. And there is a reason that Florida is called the Sunshine State.
Yes.
So
it's lovely.
It is lovely. And all that does sound great, right?
Right.
Sounds great. But in the beginning, it wasn't. It was tough.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit, right?
Well, we started off like I think we see that many do. You know, we're all Twitter-pated when we first, get together and all excited about each other, and we get married, and, it's the honeymoon phase, right? And even within our honeymoon phase, we were, we had that entrepreneur bent. We said, well, let's start a business. So within our first year, we were starting a business, right? We were starting a business.
How hard can it be?
Right, exactly right. So we jumped right into that. Okay,
we did.
But it's during that time that once the honeymoon phase was over, and just the stress of the business, and then
we had two children at this point because
two children came on. Right.
I was married before, and so I had a son from a previous marriage. So we started out with a child already, and then we immediately, for the most part, had another child. Had our middle son, and so we had one in kindergarten, I think he was, and then a baby, and started a new business.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we were clueless.
And we were definitely clueless.
We had no idea what we were getting into. And I'll bet most of you could probably say, boy, if I knew how hard it was going to be, I don't know if I would have done it.
Right.
Right. So I think being naive helps.
Right. There's something about that.
There is.
But being that naive and then hitting all the stresses, okay, with running the business, everything associated with that, the marketing, the accounting,
payroll,
right, customers, is just all the little things, meeting all those things, and then you throw in the family, the kids and those kinds of things, and so the stress is starting adding up, and so what do we start doing? First. We fought over the big stuff, Right, when
you're first married, you kind of start over the big things that really matter, right? Which wasn't a lot.
Right. And even those conversations weren't that heated, okay? But eventually, and rather pretty soon, we started fighting over the little stuff.
We did.
Over everything. And those conversations became very heated.
Very heated, yes.
Over stupid stuff.
Over everything, right. Again, because it was the business and was all the things.
Right.
So during that time, it was tough, and we're going to give you just bullet points here of where we come from, just so you know that we get it. If you're fighting and just struggling and just feels like you're constantly stressed or constantly having business conversations at 10 o'clock at night, right before the lights go out, right? Or as soon as the alarm goes off, you're like, oh, honey, did you remember to pay pay that bill or invoice, the customer or whatever, right? Already your mind's on. If you're like that, we get it. We were there. And that's what caused a lot of the stress and a lot of the arguments in the very beginning.
Right.
Right.
And that took us to a point, again, we're not going to go into all details right here. We'll share in other episodes, okay? But that brought us to the point of really we hated one another.
We did.
I mean, I don't think that's too harsh of a word to use.
No, it wasn't.
I know it's not a nice sounding word, but we hated one another.
We did. And to go from where we went from as dating, we were totally in love, and we loved being together, and we loved doing things together, and we enjoyed starting the business, all those things. And then to get to a point where we couldn't stand the sight of each other, that's where we were.
Right.
And so we ended up being separated for quite some time. And that was tough. And we finally made the decision through, a lot of counseling, right, that we were going to commit to our marriage, that we were not going to be divorced. I did not want to be twice divorced. And we were going to commit to the marriage no matter what.
Yeah, we didn't want to lose the kids. And,
we don't want to break up the family,
break up the family, all these kinds of things. We didn't want to lose the business. The business was actually doing decently at the time, even though
surprisingly so.
Even though our heads weren't there in the correct way. And again, this doesn't sound like very romantic reasons to stay together, but those were our reasons.
Those were the reasons. Yeah, right. There weren't romantic reasons at the time for us to stay together, for sure. But we decided we're going to commit, and we're going to do everything that we can to save the marriage. So that's what we did. Right. And you said that, we did get some counseling for a short amount of time, which is a difficult thing, certainly with type A personalities. Sure. We can figure things out on our own, right? But obviously, we couldn't. And it was very helpful to have that third party
intervene. And those were some pretty heavy sessions starting out.
I think our counselor probably quit after us.
I think we freaked them out, but we made it through that.
Yes.
Okay. Which, it did help us, coming out of those sessions, helped us realize the baggage that each one of us carried into the relationship.
Yes.
Which we all do. We all have some kind of baggage, that we carry into the relationship.
Right.
And then, that baggage gets awfully heavy amongst all the business concerns, all the kid concerns, family concerns, life concerns.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So we had the counseling, and then we also decided we were going to commit to date night, to dating each other, to go back to being intentional about being on a date with each other, about being intentional about being intentional, right? Of dating once a week, even if we didn't want to. And trust us, in the beginning, we did not want to go out on a date. But
there was a good 6 months to a year.
It took a while
to where it was awkward.
Yeah.
It was awkward, like a blind date, that you really didn't really like the person, that disappointment. If you ever been on a blind date or something, and I'm going to get, whatever reason you may be a little disappointed, it wasn't what you expected. Okay, that's how it felt for each of us.
It did. And because there was so many walls built, right? And so many things that we had said to each other, hurtful things, that it was tough to get over in the beginning. Right. But again, we committed ourselves. We knew we were going to save the marriage no matter what.
Right.
The most important thing that we did, though, we both had grown up in church. Always had gone to church. And when we were married, we went to church every now and then, but we certainly were not living godly lives. We were not living as a godly husband and wife. So the biggest change and the biggest impact was that we rededicated our lives to Christ. And we decided we're going to live as a Christian husband and wife. We were going to make Christ the center of our marriage. And that's what we did. Right.
And really that's the basis. I mean, it's God created, the Creator created marriage. So who better to, align ourselves with? Because really that's what marriage is. Marriage is between a man and a woman and God. It's a covenant. Okay, it's kind of like a three-legged stool. All right.
If one leg's missing.
If any of those legs are missing, it just topples over.
It's tough. That made all the difference in the world.
Right.
So we also got rid of negative people in our life, people that didn't understand us, right? Again, as couplepreneurs, it is difficult because you are around family members or friends that don't understand what it's like to be married and have a business together. I'm sure you've heard this before. Why don't you just go get a real job? Why don't you just get a real job? We heard that a million times. This is way too hard. Why don't you just get a real job? And we knew that is not what we wanted. We knew that we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We knew it. From the very beginning.
And so that can be that was a tough thing for us to overcome because you do have it could even be negative people that's in your family. Now you don't necessarily totally get rid of your family, but you change the amount of time that you spend with them and the things that you do.
Yeah, things that you share.
All right, or things that you share. Right. We stop telling them our plans and what we were working on and hoping for.
Right. Because go ahead.
Because it didn't matter. I mean,
and they would say.
Well, they'd be worried about themselves. I mean, it would the failing, put their fears and their failures, front and center. And so even if they were trying to just kind of protect us, it was in a negative way.
Right. Or they would think, gosh, there's no way I can grow a business, or our family doesn't do this, right? And we would hear that our family doesn't start businesses. So we decided to move the negative people out. Again, you can't get rid of family, but not spend so much time. And then certainly with friends, if there weren't friends that were supportive, we moved on, right? And we found other husbands and wives that owned a business together that got us. And that made a huge difference as well.
That was key and still is key. Again, is being around others that get you, that understand, that even if they don't quite understand, even our best friends are not entrepreneurs.
Correct.
But
they're supportive.
You know who I'm talking about. But they're supportive. In fact, they're attracted to our bent.
Yes.
They find it interesting. But they're also supportive. They're not saying things like be careful and don't do this or don't do that, or you sure, why don't you just do this? They don't project those kinds of things on us.
They just love and support us.
They just love and support us.
Which is great friends to have. So
not everyone around you has to be, a couplepreneur or entrepreneurial. But it certainly does help to have those people around you.
Yes, absolutely.
On the whole.
Yes. So with us, like we said, it didn't happen overnight. It took a long time again, the counseling and dating and being intentional. It took some time, but eventually we did start to like each other again.
Right.
And then
all of a sudden, I liked holding her hand and wanted to get closer. It's amazing how that works. We would force ourselves to go, go see a movie.
Because we loved movies.
And because that was something that we both enjoyed. So that made it easier, right? That was part of the key, is doing something that you both enjoy. Right. Because that helps with the stress, okay, and the strain. And so we'd go to a movie and we'd force ourselves, we'd sit in the dark and we'd hold hands. That was so awkward.
In the beginning, I would use my nails and
we'd have children together. Everything else, and we were uncomfortable holding each other's hand. It just felt weird. But after a while, it didn't feel weird.
Yes.
And so that's very important there. Okay.
Yes. And we ended up, I'm kind of looking at our notes here. And so during that time, we did eventually end up losing that business in a hostile takeover. We aren't going to discuss that because we frankly don't want to relive that part.
Right. Like we can tell you everything, not what to do.
That's true.
Right.
On that business.
Well, that's what we earned our MBA. We don't have our official MBA.
No, we do not.
But that's I think what we learned. Earned our MBA in
what do you
business.
call it? School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, the School of Hard Knocks.
For sure.
All right.
We eventually then started another business.
Right.
We were certainly much smarter this time around. Started another business. And
well, even saying with that business, that was a very stressful time, and that was even coming out of what we were just. If we hadn't committed to one another the way we did prior, I think when we lost that business, we lost everything. Oh. I mean, it was a type of loss where you lose your nice fine house in the gated community, and they come pick up your cars, and you're no longer flying first class, or you're no longer flying anywhere. Is that kind of, so we can look back now and laugh. Okay,
we were laughing then,
but we lost everything of in the worldly way or whatever, except for our marriage and our family.
Yes. So had we not re-solidified our marriage and recommitted to our marriage and done all those things when we did end up losing the business, we definitely would have been divorced. No question about it. But we stayed together and got stronger through that. We did get stronger.
Right.
Our relationship.
Definitely. And it was through, after a couple months of being curled up in the fetal position, and crying, it's in you, right? And
the entrepreneurial spirit.
The entrepreneurial spirit's in you, and you've both experienced that and that kind of life together. And so, once you've done it, once and you learn some things, you can do it again.
Yes.
Okay.
So we did.
Right. And so we did. Literally started from the kitchen table.
And we had 3 children by this point.
By this point, no money.
No money.
And, baby on the hip. We say that. That was, so we start right.
Yes.
Right
so,
then.
Yes.
Right.
So we'd had that business for 17, 18 years. We ended up selling it about 4 or 5 years ago. And we started getting asked by people in our circle, people at church, whatever, that would say, gosh, how did you grow the business, go from losing everything to starting another business and growing it, and how did you work together? So we found ourselves mentoring other people. So we decided, let's take this thing online and
there's this thing called the World Wide Web,
and see if there's others out there, because one of our mentors, his name's Roy Vaden. One of the things he says is that you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. Okay, and so we knew. If we would have had someone mentoring us way back when we first started our business, we probably wouldn't have gone through as many struggles. So we know that we are purposely positioned to serve the people that we once were. Right?
So we took it, this idea of it's coaching online. But so sweetheart, if you remember with this, we knew we understood the relationship side and how important that was, and that we would interject.
We're going to do business coaching.
But it was more directly business coaching.
Correct.
It was helping them with their business. And so, we got into that, and really that took off. I mean, we were quite frankly surprised how that took off. And so we were, coaching online. We have an online platform, education platform, and then we're doing private coaching as well.
Correct.
And so it's through that that we discovered with all of our coaching sessions that it seemed like over half the time wasn't business coaching. It was marriage coaching.
Marriage coaching, because our clients, for the most part, were husbands and wives, right?
Right.
So we found we were doing an awful lot of marriage coaching.
Right.
Because it's hard, as you know, right? So from that, the Couplepreneur Life was born.
And that's where it was
that we
born,
decided, okay, we're going to open this up. We're going to really talk to the people we once were, husbands and wives who have started a business together, run a business together, and speak into their lives and give them hope. That would have been great for us to have had years and years ago when we were going through our struggle, with someone to be there for us, come alongside us, and offer hope. That would have meant the world.
Right. Now, there is business coaching out there.
Sure.
Okay. And there's plenty of that, and there's marriage coaching. You know, and there seems to be a lot of that.
Yes.
Now I have to say, it makes me smile a little bit, because some of these marriage coaches, you know, seem to be younger. They're awfully attractive, cute people. You know, young people. It's like
married for 2 years.
Married for a couple of years. You know, I do want to say, you know, at least get a pet, you know, a dog or something before you start giving, you know, marriage advice.
Yes.
But I mean, so there's a lot of that out there, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of good stuff out there. But there's nothing out there that we found and wish that we would have had that understood the idea of being a couplepreneur.
Correct.
As a couple, as a husband and wife. Who are not only dealing with marriage, which is tough enough on its own, okay, can be challenging enough, but also, you know, have started or run a business together,
right,
which is a whole nother dynamic.
Correct. Okay. And have done it, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, all the things, right? And again, we've been doing this for almost 30 years. We've been married almost 30 years, and we've been in business together for 29 of those years. So we do get it. So it's not.
So I think everything before now is all led up to now.
Has been practice.
It's all just been practice, right? So all those arguments, all those mistakes.
We did it all for you guys.
Okay, losing that company, losing everything, having the sheriff show up at the house.
We need to stop. Hating each other, all the things, right? We can now look back and say, okay, God, we get it. We know now why we went through all that. Right, because this really is a mission, and we have a heart for couplepreneurs. We truly do. So our hope is to give you hope. That's our mission.
So that's what this podcast is all about.
Yes, that's what it is.
The Couplepreneur Life. You know, we're going to be we'll share our experiences and insights. And we'll be very transparent.
Yes.
You know, because I think you need to hear them. All right, even though it may be a little uncomfortable for us at times. All right.
You know what? We're old enough that it's
old enough it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, we like where we're at. We like our lives. All right.
And we know we can help.
Right. So we're not so worried about what others think.
No,
right?
we really
so
are.
we're just going to share it with you.
Yes.
For those that need to hear it.
Yes.
But we're also going to be bringing in other industry leaders and experts, business leaders and experts. Okay.
That can speak directly to.
Right, and directly to you for the business, to give you the business help.
Right.
But also, more importantly, we're going to bring in relational, experts and leaders, to talk on things like, communication,
yes.
Roles. Isn't that crazy, right?
Defining roles in your business,
right.
And at home, right?
Exactly. Dealing with our children, okay? Kids and family, extended family, to sex and intimacy.
Yes.
Okay.
All the things that are important to you.
We're going to cover it all.
We are. We're going there.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all the things that are important to your marriage and to your business. That's what the Couplepreneur Life podcast is going to be about.
All right.
Right. Let's see. What else do we have here? So our hope, again, is to give you hope and for you to find a community of other couplepreneurs. And we've got some things that we'll be talking about in upcoming episodes and things that we can offer you to come alongside and hopefully help you not go through some of the things that we did.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. So it's great to have you along here. All right. So join us on this adventure, okay, as we learn together, as we spend time together. If you want to learn more, you can go to thecplife.com. All right.
Our website.
The website and check out, get more information there. And so it's just good to have you here.
Yes. And be sure to go and follow on all the podcast platforms. Go out and follow on Apple, and we're out on all of them. So be sure to follow us.
Right, and on the social networks. All right,
Definitely.
So join us there as well. So if you're a husband and wife, you're working together, own a business together, you're in the right spot, and we're so glad to have you here.
We are.
Okay. All right, babe. I think that wraps up our first edition.
It's in the can.
Of the Couplepreneur Life.
Yes, many more to come. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode.
See you next time.